The Pentagon calls it an evolution, a multi-billion-dollar bet to ensure the American soldier never enters a fair fight again. The XM30 was born to be the absolute successor to the legendary Bradley, a digitized war machine wrapped in layers of secrecy and artificial intelligence. But while the generals in D.C. celebrate the new contracts, a steel ghost from Sweden is stealing the spotlight on the most brutal battlefields of Eastern Europe. The CV90 isn't just a competitor, it's the gold standard that the United States is desperately trying to reach. And maybe, just maybe, it's already too late. You've heard the promises. They said the XM30 would be the monster of the plains, that its stealth tech and its new 50mm cannon would redefine land warfare. But there's a doubt growing in the comments of veterans and experts alike. Is America's new infantry darling truly superior to what Europe has been fielding for decades? Or did the U.S. make the classic mistake of designing a vehicle for a laboratory war? While the CV90 is out there, right now, proving its lethality under the hellfire of Russian artillery, the truth is more uncomfortable than the Department of Defense is willing to admit. The verdict on the XM30 is about to be delivered, and it might not be what you expect. It all comes down to a single number, 50mm. That is the punch the XM30 brings to the table. It's a brutal leap over the 25mm Bushmaster that armed the Bradley for 40 years. The American goal is clear: absolute lethality beyond the horizon. They want the XM30 operator to vaporize enemy armor before they even show up on the optics. It's the philosophy of raw American muscle. And if the problem is an enemy army, the solution is a bigger steel sledgehammer. But this is where physics meets the reality of modern combat. On the other side of the scale, the CV90 operates with a 35mm Bushmaster. At first glance, it looks like an unfair fight. But in war, size isn't always the master of the battlefield. While the XM30 bets on the power of a single devastating shot, the CV90 is a symphony of rate of fire and precision. Its programmable airburst munitions are capable of detonating exactly above a trench, showering the enemy in a rain of tungsten fragments. The technical dilemma is cruel. The XM30's 50mm cannon demands a larger turret and heavier ammo, creating a silhouette that screams for attention. We are comparing a technological promise of total destruction with a ballistic reality that has already sent hundreds of enemy tanks to the scrap heap. The XM30 has the harder punch. But the CV90 knows exactly where to hit so you don't get back up. This is where the war-fighting philosophies of two continents collide. The XM30 is essentially a high-performance supercomputer wrapped in steel plates. The Pentagon bet everything on its digital backbone, an architecture designed to let the vehicle predict threats before they even hit the gunner's optics. It's the pinnacle of network-centric warfare, but that sophistication comes with a heavy price tag. Literally. To house all that electronics and the modular armor needed to survive, the XM30 has become a giant. And on the modern battlefield, being big means being a target. Meanwhile, the CV90 plays a different game. The game of Swedish survival. It was designed to disappear. Its silhouette is low. Its thermal signature is dampened, and its mobility is the stuff of legends. While the XM30 relies on cutting-edge sensors to avoid being hit, the CV90 relies on its ability to traverse terrain where other tanks would simply sink. There's a certain technological arrogance in American designs that the CV90 ignores. It doesn't try to be a smartphone with tracks. It's a mechanical veteran that understands one thing: when enemy electronic warfare fries your circuits, the only thing keeping you alive is raw speed and the brutal thickness of your steel. The XM30 is a gamble on a digital future. The CV90 is the ultimate analog answer for a world that still bleeds in the mud. Theory dies the moment the first track hits Ukrainian soil, and this is where the CV90 humbles every PowerPoint presentation coming out of the Pentagon. It's no longer a concept. It's a combat-proven reality. We've seen the footage. CV90s taking hits that would vaporize Soviet-era armor and minutes later, continuing the mission. This feedback loop of blood and fire has given the Swedes an edge the XM30 simply doesn't have real-world experience. American engineers are designing solutions for problems they think they'll face. The Swedes are fine-tuning their machines based on what is actually happening in the trenches of Donetsk. Then there's the question no one at the Department of Defense likes to discuss openly: the cost. The XM30 is a technological jewel costing millions per unit, a price so high that losing a single vehicle becomes a political and financial catastrophe. The CV90, however, is the definition of Nordic efficiency: rugged, lethal, and comparatively far cheaper to maintain and mass produce. In a war of attrition, where quantity has a quality of its own, America's over-engineering might be its fatal flaw. We are building a vehicle that is too good to lose. But in a real war, everything on the front line is disposable. The CV90 gets that. The XM30 still has to learn it. And the price of that lesson will be paid in lives. The question echoing through the halls of defense is inevitable. If the CV90 is this efficient, why didn't the U.S. just buy it? The answer isn't in the engineering. It's in pride and industrial sovereignty. Adopting a foreign design as the backbone of the American infantry would be admitting that the nation's technological hegemony has cracks. The XM30, as Washington's attempt to prove it, can still dictate the rules of the game. It's a project born from the need to keep jobs on American soil and the flag at the top of the innovation pedestal. But this industrial patriotism carries a systemic risk. While the U.S. spends years refining complex software and adjusting every millimeter of the XM30's chassis, the global market is watching. Other nations are seeing that the CV90 offers 90% of the capability at a fraction of the cost, with zero wait time for testing. The XM30 isn't just fighting the CV90, it's fighting time. The U.S. Army is betting that when the XM30 finally arrives, it will be so superior that the delay was worth it. But at the speed modern warfare evolves, that might be the most dangerous gamble of the century. On paper, the XM30 wins in raw power. In the mud of the real world, the CV90 remains the undisputed king. At the end of the day, the best vehicle isn't the one with the fastest processor. It's the one that brings the soldier back home. America may have built the ultimate combat computer, but Sweden built the ultimate survivor. The duel between the American future and the European present is far from over, and the final verdict will be written in the twisted metal of the next great conflict. But there is a factor no one at this table is watching. While Washington and Stockholm fight for supremacy, a third competitor has emerged from the shadows in Germany. With modular turret tech that makes the XM30 look like yesterday's news, and active defense systems that defy the laws of physics, the Lynx KF-41 is silently shifting the survival calculus for every world power, and the reason the Pentagon is genuinely terrified of this new rival is something you won't find in any official report, at least, not yet.